Hey all, my name's Hayden. I'm the founder of ClickFox and I recently sold my Amazon brand for 6 figures. Now, in this video, I want to talk about what I think people are doing wrong when it comes to PPC and the way they're thinking about it. It's very different for beginners with PPC than it is people that have been doing this for quite some time. And that's sort of the distinction that I want to make there, because I think there's a lot of uncertainty around Amazon PPC and how it should be looked at. There's usually two types of people that I see. There's the people that are overcautious, and then there's the people that are too flexible and just allow whatever spend they think whatever's required, and then they sort of don't monitor it enough. You kind of need to be in the middle. Now, what I mean in the middle here is you kind of need to be the person that's willing to invest, because trust me, if you don't invest in a good amount of PPC on Amazon, generally, especially when it comes to private label, but even your higher end unique bundles and that kind of stuff, you need to invest some good amount, especially in the early days of them listings, to get some sort of traction. But then there's the people over here that, so there's the first set of people that are really scared to invest that initial amount. And I understand that, you know, it feels like you're just chucking money into a black hole, for example, but you have to do that to start with. You have to invest a good amount in the early days to get that traction. The people that do it wrong, in my opinion, are the ones that invest willingly a crazy amount. They're not bothered about how much it is, and they just keep splashing that money in there without monitoring the results that are coming in to check that that spend is actually working. So we kind of need to be in the middle. We don't want to be too stingy, but we don't want to be overspending without analyzing the results. So this is the way that I see it. This is the way I think you should play it. Depending on what, now you can chat to me about this, send us an email, info@clickfox, what is it? Yeah, info@apexppc.co.uk. That's the one. You can ask us if you want or whatever. Ask me on the YouTube comments below. You've got to figure out exactly how much you should be roughly spending in order to get back the results and the data that you need to figure out if that product is a success or a failure at that stage, and if you need to tweak stuff. So depending on what strategy you're doing, if you're doing unique bundles, you need to spend less to test generally, unless it's a very hyper competitive keywords that you're trying to go after. Or if it's private label, you're going to have to spend more. As a ballpark figure, this is from someone that manages many people's accounts at the moment, and I also do a lot of Amazon PPC on them accounts as well. As a ballpark figure, if you are doing unique bundles in the early days, you need to spend at least 10 to 20 pounds generally on the Amazon PPC. Run that for at least 7 days, and then you'll be assessing the data from 48 hours onwards for them campaigns and that data. Now, what I would expect to see, if bearing in mind your product price is the right thing, your product listing's really good quality, your images are good quality, your price is good, you've done your keyword research where you've got at least, let's say, 4 or 5 in the top 20 results that are showing less than 200 reviews, your competitors, and there's a good amount of sales there, and you have found a niche that's unique, you have differentiated your product or made it as good as the competition as a bare minimum, your price is similar, your listing's good quality, you've got A+ content, bearing all that in mind, right, because that's where most people go wrong, the basics, I would expect some good results if you're spending 10 to 20 pounds on a unique bundle per day with PPC spend. Doesn't have to be crazy, because remember, what we can do is go back and tweak at a later date. We can go back and we can tweak the budget adjustments. We can do all the allocation of spend later on. To start with, we can run a little auto campaign, £5-10 a day, and then we can let that run, and then we can do a couple of manual campaigns for your main keywords, broad, phrase, and exact, all in separate campaigns. And if you are spending £20 a day for even 3 or 4 days, and you're not seeing some sales come in, straight away for me, I would be very, very concerned. Because if you can see it spending, if all the ads are running, and this is a big if, don't skip this part, if you've ticked all the boxes that I've just said about, which is A+ content, amazing product images, good price, you've done all your keyword research, your product differentiates some sort, your product looks good, would you buy your product, the price is right, the reviews are fine, all that sort of stuff, I'll be very concerned. And I wouldn't be carrying on with them ads so aggressively until I figured out what's wrong. Why is this not selling? Because it should be selling if you ticked all them boxes. Especially if you're doing something like private label, it's a little bit different. This really depends on how competitive your niche is, but it's not unheard of to spend £50 to £100 per day with private label. That's not me telling you should do that. It all depends on how competitive your niche is, but I would expect to spend £50 a day on PPC to start with. Some clients will spend 200 a day, right? Similar thing applies here. If you've done all the tick lists, which I've just spoken about, and you cannot see the results coming, you cannot see some sort of sales or momentum coming after spending 50 or £100 a day with private label, I would pull all of that back, stop spending as much, and then figure out what the problem is here. Because this is where people go wrong. They go into a black hole of spending too aggressively without monitoring results. Hold on, is this actually going in the direction it needs to go? When maybe all they needed to do was stop spending so much on the PPC to start with, get someone to recreate their images and make them a lot better because they were missing out some ingredients, or they were missing out, an amazing main image or something like that, or it was the milliliter on the listing on the main image was 20 when it should have been 100 and it's misleading people, whatever. They could have spent 100 or 200 pounds redoing their images and then turning their ads back on for success. But some people will just keep battering away at their private label or their bundle spend, thinking that one day it's just going to work, when they're missing out on the main thing. And the main thing is making sure you're getting some momentum and analysing them results. If you are spending constantly £10 per sale, there's something wrong with your listing. There is something wrong with your listing if you're spending that, unless you're an extremely competitive niche, which most people aren't silly enough to go into unless they've got 10 grand a month, on PPC spend budget to get that going, and they've got a really strong plan. Most of you don't fall into that, which means most of you should be assessing your data. Now let's talk about assessing your data. What should you be looking at when it comes to this data? Because you might be sitting there going, yeah, Hayden, this is great, but how do I know what's bad and what's right? Well, I've just spoken about the basics, right? And I'll go over them again, then I'll go into more detail. If you're spending 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds on every single sale, especially a bundle, you should be getting a sale per £5 spent for a good bundle, even in the early days, right? Doesn't really matter as much about the ACOS in the early days, as long as, when you're in launch phase, as long as you're getting a sale for every £5 to £7 spent. That's in my opinion. Maybe even better results than that if you're in a not so competitive niche. So that's like if you're not getting that, I'd be digging into it. When it comes to private label, it's £10-15, maximum you should be spending per sale in the early days, unless you're in a very competitive niche. So that's the first thing I'll be looking at. If I'm not getting at least that to start with, there's something seriously wrong, guys. So I'll be digging into that data, having a look at the data. Is there one specific keyword? This is the next thing I'll look at. Is there one specific keyword within that campaign, within them campaigns, within them ad groups that is spending way too much? Like, this is where some people go wrong. They will launch all these campaigns and then they put them all under one ad group. They put them all under one campaign when they should be set out differently. One for broad, one for phrase, one for exact, one auto campaign. And then there's one keyword that is just absolutely chewing up all of their spend within the first hour or 2 hours it's gone out. And then there's not enough spend to be evenly attributed to the other keywords, right? That's where a lot of people go wrong. Check your campaigns carefully. Is there one keyword or one auto campaign that is absolutely munching up your budget? If so, detract it, or put the spend right down on it, analyze the results and take a look at it more carefully. It could be the same with the auto. Maybe you need to adjust your auto budget right down if you've put a bid at £2, because a £2 on an auto campaign, Amazon's going to love that. It's just going to munch that right up, and it could just be useless. That's the second thing that I would do. I would make sure I'm checking that to see if there's one keyword that's taking it all up. And the next thing I would start to look at, right, if you've looked into it and you can see that actually the auto campaign's okay, I've got one separate campaign for phrase, one separate for manual, one separate for broad, then I would dig a little deeper. If all of them are spending way too much and they're not getting too many sales, then it could be a few things. You could either need to increase the budget for each one, the broad, the phrase, and the exact, because maybe it's not attributing spend enough to all of them to get it going to start with, right? Because if you're spending £20 a day and you've got 5 on the auto, 5 on the phrase, 5 on the exact, 5 on the broad, that might not be enough spend to get the juices going in the early days if you're in a competitive niche. You might want to try increasing that budget to see if you start getting sales, right? If you increase it a little bit and you don't get the sales, I would then also be looking at adjusting them bids right down, testing different keywords. I'll be testing different keywords for broad, different for exact, different for phrase. Maximum 3 to 5 in broad, phrase, and exact. Maximum 3 to 5 keywords per campaign there, because Amazon won't distribute your spend evenly. I would then be adjusting that And then you want to look back within 48 to 72 hours, look at the results there. Is there keywords that are spending way too much once again and they're not getting results? I'm bringing this back to the basics so that you guys can manage it yourself here. Is there one keyword that keeps standing out that's not getting results? If so, get rid of it for now. Get rid of it, add it as a negative into your exact, and then go from there. Then look at the other results. And then over time, you might start seeing the keywords that are performing for you. That's what I'll be doing. Most people don't do this stuff. They just allow their campaigns to just keep spending and spending and spending. And they're either in the wrong keyword that's too competitive and they can't afford to compete in it, or they haven't adjusted their listing to what the market wants. And if you're spending on all of the keywords and you're getting really bad results, it means, my friends, well, a lot of people won't tell you this. A lot of agencies will just take your money without telling you this. It means, my friends, your product, your listing, is rubbish and it's not working. And you need to go back to phase one, which is, have you made sure that you can compete in this niche? Is there too much competition? Is there something wrong with your listing? You know, like, is it too competitive and you figure out you have to spend £30 or £40 per sale? Because that can happen. Or is it that you need to recreate your listing? It's always one of them two, guys. It's always either too competitive and you just have to spend a ton more than what you can afford. That's more so for private label. Or you've created your listing, you've got it going, you've got attention to that, and then for some reason, it's not converting. And that, my friends, is due to the price, it's due to the reviews, it's due to the listing not being of good quality, it's due to the images not being right, it's due to them clicking on the listing and then it not being what they thought it was going to be, is the informational matching. That's what you've got to look at, guys. Please don't underspend and expect amazing results and wonder why you're not organically ranking well. And please don't overspend and let your bids go out of control. You're putting money into a black hole and you're not getting any sales. You should be getting sales in this launch phase. If you're not, you need to look at it a bit closer. My name's Hayden. I'm the founder of ClickFox, an Amazon agency where we primarily focus on Amazon PPC for our clients. We also do full service as well. I recently sold a brand and I'm going to be launching a new brand very, very soon. Make sure you follow the channel for more. Hit my links below if you want to get in contact with me, and I'll see you soon.